All right, I have got a different kind of episode this week for you. Got something special and it's going to be different. So, I have a guest that I met on LinkedIn. I found a LinkedIn post that kind of caught my attention, and I have Kat Bell with me. What caught my attention was actually a post. I thought it was her looking for employment. It was initially. But what caught my eye was that she's leaving to go hike the Appalachian Trail. And it caught my eye because I was a hiker when I lived in Georgia and I loved the Appalachian Trail. Anyways, she got a partial scholarship from this place called One More Day on the Appalachian Trail, and it's only gonna cover, like, half of the cost of her hiking the Appalachian Trail, and she's a legal assistant, so she's in between jobs. She's gonna go hike the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine, which will take her 3 to 6 months, and it caught my attention, so I reached out to her on LinkedIn, and she just has this amazing story, and some of it, we're gonna talk about her position as a legal assistant and being in between jobs, but some of it is just for inspiration that I think you will all find interesting, and I would love for you guys, if you're watching on YouTube, jump in the description. I'll put a link to her GoFundMe page. If you can just afford $5 to support Kat on her hike up the Appalachian Trail, because the other thing is, if she gets excess funds, she's going to donate it to a couple of worthy causes, one of which is to domestic abuse survivors. And just go in there, and if you're on the podcast and you're listening to the audio version of it, I'll put a link to the YouTube channel so that you can go over there or go to the podcast episode page. I'll put the link in there so that you can support Kat. So, Kat, welcome to the show. And I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about how you got notified that you were going to have this partial scholarship, which, by the way, everyone, they only award one full scholarship and one partial scholarship per year. Is that correct, Kat?
Yes, yes, yes. And hundreds of people apply for it, obviously, because who wouldn't want to? Everybody wants to hike the Appalachian Trail. If you're a hiker, it's like, it's like the ultimate legendary goal. I'll hike the Appalachian Trail. So I was blown away.
How did you apply? What do you have to do to apply?
Well, there is, a website, One More Day on the Appalachian Trail. And if you go there, they start taking applications at some point in the late summer. And there is a board of directors that reviews the applications. Back in December, they notified me that I was one of 5 finalists and they wanted to do a Zoom interview with me. So I went through the Zoom interview with, all the board members. And 2 days later, got a call. Guess what? You got the partial scholarship. And I was like, oh, holy cow. Wow. Wow. This has been my dream forever. Wow. What now?
So, just to get an idea, it's been your dream forever to spend like 6 months in the woods hiking thousands of, like, how many miles is it to hike from Georgia to Maine? Do you know?
The official mileage, I think, is something like 2,190 something miles, just shy of 2,200.
So, are you prepared? You leave on March 15th, right?
Yes. I'm going back to Georgia tomorrow, and then I start hiking on March 15th.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And also, I'll also put in the description and on the website page, I think, don't you have your own YouTube channel or something where people can follow you along on the hike?
Yes, I have a YouTube channel and a Facebook page. Both of them are called Catwoman Hikes, and that's Catwoman with a K, not a C. YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, all of that, Catwoman Hikes, and you can follow me there if you would like.
Okay, so working in the legal field as a legal assistant for, what was it, 27, 28 years, you're probably going to be pretty well prepared. You've been working with lawyers for all this time. You're going to be
Yes.
organized,
Yes.
probably.
Yes. Well, this has been, like I said, my goal ever since I was tiny, and I couldn't even tell you why. I had a couple older brothers, but they were so much older than me. I didn't really know anything about them because they moved out by the time I was like 5. But apparently one of my older brothers, who is now deceased, he was an avid hiker. And I didn't consciously know that until a few years ago when his widow told me about that. So I guess I just absorbed it by osmosis. But I had never hiked a day in my life, ever, until I was 47 years old. So back in, yes, ma'am, my family was not outdoorsy except for my older brother. So in 2020 or early 2021, I think it was 2020, 47 years old. I was at the time 120 pounds overweight, never hiked a day in my life, but I always wanted to. And so finally I decided, gosh darn it, I'm going to learn to hike. So I started watching YouTube videos and reading books about hiking and backpacking. And I started hiking every week on Saturdays. The first several weeks it was hike half a mile out, hike half a mile back. And then the next week go a little bit farther and a little bit farther. Because remember, I'm 120 pounds overweight. I'm diabetic. I'm sick. I have no energy. So I started, of course, I completely fell in love with hiking. I was like, okay, yes, this is what I want to do. So then I realized, okay, hiking once a week is not going to get me the conditioning and the endurance to do the miles I want to do and eventually hike the trail. So I started working out during the week doing DDP yoga, which is like a calisthenics yoga hybrid. And I
Can you say
eventually,
that again? What is it? DDP?
yeah, it's like Diamond Dallas Page, the wrestler. He put together his own kind of yoga program. And it's calisthenics, it's physical therapy rehab, and it's yoga all mashed together. So it's like a really complete cardio strengthening workout with no impact. And eventually I became a instructor as well, a DDP yoga instructor as well. But through that and through eating correctly and hiking and the DDP yoga, I lost about 97 pounds and kept hiking further and further. I started acquiring the different gear I needed. And on May 8th, 2021, I did my first overnight backpacking trip. And I did all this by myself, by the way. Because if you sit around and wait for somebody to do the things you want, you might be sitting there forever.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm going to go do this. So I spent my first night out on the Amicalola Falls Approach Trail. It's the trail that leads to the Appalachian Trail. That was my first overnight backpacking trip, and it was awesome. And so since then, I just kept acquiring different gear and getting everything dialed in, knowing that one day in my head, knowing I'm going to be on the trail one day. Now, in my head, I thought, okay, the minute I hit 62, I'm selling all my stuff, I'm taking my retirement check, and I'm walking north. No idea that I would be doing it anytime sooner than that. But along the way, as I'm getting my different gear and hiking and backpacking, I'm intentionally putting myself in situations I know I'll encounter on the trail, okay? Because when you're hiking to Maine, it's going to rain a lot. So I would go out and hike for 4 days when it was torrential downpours. I have gone
On
out
purpose?
on purpose because I know I'm going to have to do this one day. I have gone out and backpacked when it was in the 20s because I hate the cold and I need to know in my mind, I need to know I can handle it and I have the right gear. I have hiked 4th of July weekend when it's 10,000 degrees and there's no air conditioning out there. I need to know I can handle hiking in the heat and the sun. I have made myself hike at night, even though I'm still deathly afraid of the dark. Do not like the idea of night hiking, but I have made myself do it because out there on the trail, at some point, it's going to get dark before you get where you're going, if you're slow like me. So I would intentionally put myself in situations that I knew I would encounter on the trail. And so when this opportunity came up, I had the gear, I had the experience. I don't have a job. I just moved in with a friend who is going to let me, kind of pause my lease so that I can go do this and then come back. So I'm not in some kind of mega apartment complex that's going to wreck my credit. It was a perfect timing. It's like I've got the stuff, I got the gear, I know how to do this. Let's go. I just needed the money, and I got half the money.
I like those little, what I would call those micro bursts of building your confidence level.
Yes. My confidence level has increased so much Because again, I come from a background of severe child abuse as a child, which of course, textbook, how it happens. You go from severe childhood abuse to the first available human who shows interest in you. And then, like a country song, oh no, wait, this one's going to be safe. Oh no, this one's going to be safe. And it kept on until I finally realized, no, this isn't cool. Now I see the pattern. Now I see what I'm doing. No more. And so with the hiking and the exercise, and especially the Appalachian Trail, my confidence has grown, my energy level has grown, my enthusiasm for life has grown. Because the trail, especially the Appalachian Trail, any hiking trail, any long distance trail, but my heart is the AT. Um, you will face these challenges and you're like, I don't know if I can do this. And then you do it and you're like, holy cow, I did that. And then if you don't do it, if you don't achieve, like I flew up to Maine and tried to hike up Katahdin. I didn't make it to the top that time. It killed me twice. I came really close. So if you're out there and you don't achieve whatever goal you're trying to do, you can always come back. You're like, okay, now I know, now I'm better prepared. There is no failing, there's only learning. The only failing is quitting. And so
Oh, I
so
might pull
ev-
that one out. Say that again.
the only failing is quitting,
Mm-hmm.
because every time you do something, you're better prepared for the next time. So, the trail, it will teach you confidence, it will give you strength. And then when you get too cocky and too sure of yourself and just a little too laissez faire, it will humble you quick, fast, and in a hurry, because it'll do that. So it really is kind of a textbook for life out there. And the people, oh my gosh, the people of the trail. I always say the trail itself is magic, and the people of the trail are the deepest magic, because the people out there are so kind and so helpful. And we're all out there doing the same thing. And we're all out there searching for something, finding something, giving something. And just everyone out there, not always hiked alone. But I've never been by myself because so many people are on the trail. And I know there's creeps and jerks everywhere, but I've not encountered one yet.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So you've been a legal assistant for 27 years, 28 years. Before I let you go, everybody's going to want to know. Everybody always has a story behind it. What made you decide to become a legal assistant? Because it sounds like you should be a park ranger.
I wish if I had a college degree, I would love to be a park ranger. But um, so back in the mid '90s, I lived up north with my first husband at the time, and of course, as I alluded to earlier, it was a very abusive marriage. Um, and I was about 800 miles from home. And of course, for me, home was not safe. I had no home I could go back to and be like, I had no shelter to go back to. I was kind of stuck. Um, so up there in the north in the mid '90s, I was finally able to get away from my abusive husband. I had a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old at the time. I had a GED, and my only job skills at the time were waiting tables. I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew I needed to do something. Well, of course, I couldn't afford an attorney, so I called legal aid and said, "Hey, I'm a single mother on welfare. I need an attorney to divorce my abusive husband who's hitting me, throwing me downstairs, etc." And they said, "Well, it's an 18-month wait unless he's violated the restraining order more than twice." I'm like, "Well, he's only violated it once so far." They said, "Well, we're sorry, we can't help you. We'll put you on the waiting list." Okay, thanks. Luckily, I had a friend who had been in a similar situation and had done her own divorce. She was not a legal assistant, but she was, extremely smart. She was actually a realtor, actually. And she walked me through the process of filling out the divorce paperwork, told me what to expect in court. And as I'm going through this process, I'm realizing that I'm fascinated by the legal process. Absolutely fascinated. And, that all the personal stuff notwithstanding, I'm like, hey, this is kind of fun, except for the whole gross divorce thing. But this is kind of cool. And when I represented myself in court, the bailiff thought I was already a legal assistant. No, I'm just a waitress, just a diner waitress. But I found a school that had a legal secretarial program. And so for about 9 or 10 months, I lived with different friends. Me and my kids kind of bounced from house to house while I worked my way through legal secretary school. Graduated, the former high school dropout, graduated top of my class with a 4.0 and was a graduation speaker.
Mm.
And
So cute.
I got my first job up there, working for a sole practitioner. Stayed there a couple of years, got a bit of a better job, and then was able to afford to move back home to Georgia in 1999, and I have been there ever since until this past December when I moved to coastal South Carolina.
That's a nice story. Like, so you represented yourself and
Yeah,
so that's interesting. Like that you found you might not have, but for that situation
right,
that you were in, you might not have ever realized like who graduates from high school and says, I want to be a legal assistant or a paralegal. You might not have ever heard of that as a
right,
career option.
right. Well, the thing I have learned that no matter how disastrous something is, you can find something in it. I have a bracelet that I wear. I don't have it now. It's packed away somewhere. I have to dig it out. That says "Embrace the suck." And I know that's I stole that from the military. Sorry, not sorry, guys. Um, but in my own life, that's a principle I live by because when things are bad and rough and scary, our natural inclination is to run from it and hide it. I have learned to embrace those things because, for one thing, running from it isn't going to help. The situation is still going to be there. Might as well face it. Second of all, it's there. I might as well use the hell out of it and learn anything it can teach me because it's not going anywhere. I might as well use it to my benefit. This sucks. This is bad. I'm going to learn something from this and I'm going to use this somehow to my advantage.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, it's still going to be there.
Yeah. So may as well use it to your advantage and find something you can learn, something you can, you know, use. There's something in there always. It might not be easy to see, but there's something.
So do you have your bags like packed? I mean, how do you, is it kind of like with the I think it was Reese Witherspoon who starred in that movie where she went and did the
Yeah.
one out in California
Yeah.
or the
Wild. Yeah.
one, yeah, the movie Wild. I read that book. I thought the book was way better than the movie because it went into such detail when she
Yeah.
was on that trail. Is it where you send things in advance along the trail? Because you can't pack that
Right.
much and carry it, right?
Well, if I had more than 6 weeks to plan my hike,
Mm.
I have a dehydrator. Like I have dehydrated my own meals in the past because again, my entire life I have been setting up to go on the trail. So I have the fancy dehydrator. I have all the things where I could have made, 6 months worth of food and mailed it ahead. I found out like 7 weeks before I'm going, I don't have time for all that. On the Appalachian Trail, especially, it is very user friendly. It's a very good, actually, beginner hiking trail because there is a town every 3 to 4 days. Like
Oh, okay.
you're not out in the wilderness like the Pacific Crest Trail, Continental Divide Trail. Those are more hardcore wilderness type. Appalachian Trail, I mean, yeah, it's wilderness, but again, there's a trail or a town every 3 to 4 days. So you get enough food for 3 or 4 days. Then you walk into town or get a ride into town, restock your food, go back on trail. And you just keep doing that until you get to Maine.
Okay. And I guess you could go 3 to 4 days without food.
Yeah, yeah,
Worst
could, but
case.
I really don't want to.
I wouldn't want to either. I wouldn't want
Yeah,
to either.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. So Kat, you're going to inspire so many people. I hope that they please everybody jump on her Facebook and YouTube, follow along, donate to her. Like I said, even if it's only $5 or $10, whatever you can afford, give her some support. Get her up there to the Maine See, and one thing that she told me when we were talking before we started, we hit the record button, 3 out of 4 people don't make it. Was that correct? 3 out of
Yeah,
4
yeah,
people that start in Georgia don't make it to Maine.
right. And there's two
So
main reasons for that typically. And they're pretty well even. Finances, they run out of money. That's the big thing I'm looking at. I only have enough
mm,
for 3 months on trail. And illness or injury. Those are the two things that take people off trail the most. And of course, third is, homesick. They don't want to, they're like, oh God, I miss my family. There's multitude, or something goes wrong at home or something with their job. There's a lot of reasons people get off the trail, but mostly it's money and it's injury or illness. So I'm trying to hopefully not have the money thing happen.
yeah.
Um, the main reason I'm hiking, it's not just because this is what I've always wanted to do. It's like way bigger than that. It is to show people like me, people who have come from backgrounds of abuse, people who have come from places of darkness, and maybe you can't see yourself doing something like this, or you can't see yourself doing whatever that big goal is. Um, I'm living proof you can, because I am not the person I was even 5 years ago. Person I was 5 years ago would not be sitting here on a video camera blabbing someone's ear off. 5 years ago, I was a shadow. 5 years ago, I had 47 years of trying to be as invisible as possible so that I didn't make anyone mad and so that nobody would, get upset with me, and, just trying to be this little mouse. And I'm not a mouse anymore. I'm this ridiculous, you know, colorful whatever. And I'm living, not just surviving. I'm thriving. I'm enjoying life. I'm excited about life. And for 47 years, I was not. And so I'm doing this to show other people that, look, if I came from this background and have been through all these things, but can somehow come to this place, then so can you. Whether or not I make it to Maine is kind of irrelevant-ish. The point is, I'm taking the risk and I'm doing it, and I'm taking all of y'all along with me, because whatever your thing is, you can do the thing. I absolutely believe in you. You absolutely can do the thing, because if I can do the thing, you can do the thing. Um, you're far more capable than you know, and that's why I'm hiking. And half the money that I raise, if anything is left over after my hike, half of it is going to go back to the charity that gave me the grant, and the other half is going to a domestic violence charity called Circle of Hope in Cornelia, Georgia. I have friends who have had experience with that group, and they do a lot of good work saving people's lives, empowering people to get out of abuse and thrive and help them heal. So anything I raise over and above the cost of my hike is going to be split between those two charities. So I'm not hiking for me, I'm hiking for all of us. We are all hiking. This is our hike. This is not my hike. This is our hike. And I'm
I
hiking it
love that.
for you as well as myself. And I'm hiking it for my kids. They're all adults now, but they went through all this, and, they suffered horribly. And I want to show them that you can do anything. If I can do this, if your old, chubby mom can do this, you can do whatever it is you want.
They must be so proud of you to
I
see
think
that.
I think they just think I'm nuts.
No,
They're
I bet
not
you there's
wrong, but
I mean, just to see the inspiration. Say that again. What was your thing?
um oh, it has left my head. Oh, also ADHD. If you have ADHD, follow me. I will get you lost too. Um, there is no failure if you don't quit. There is no
Yeah,
failure. There is, quitting is the only failure.
I like that. I think
And
that's gonna be the title of this episode. There
yeah,
is no failure if you don't quit.
yeah, it's just, improvise, adapt, overcome. Again, stolen from the military. You just keep going as long as you don't stop. I mean, you might have to pause briefly, and recalibrate and come back and do it again. But that's not the same as quitting. You just keep going. That's the secret sauce. I'm a very slow hiker. I'm not fast. Um, there's a lot of people in better shape than I am still. I'm not where I want to be physically. I'm not where I was, but I'm not where I want to be. But my secret sauce is I don't give up. There's a lot of people smarter than me, faster than me, better than me. Very few people are more stubborn than me. Which can be a plus or a minus, but
You know what? I can see now why, after doing that video interview with you, why they gave you that partial scholarship. I'll bet you they're like, boy, this woman's going to make it. She's probably going to make it to Maine.
I certainly hope so. I'm going to be living very, very austerely on trail. Very. Typically, conventional wisdom is it's about $1,000 a month to survive on trail because you have to pay for shuttles in and out of town, staying at hostels or hotels once a week or so to get showers, do laundry. I'm going to have one pair of clothes to hike in, one pair of clothes to sleep in. That's it. So you gotta go to town and do laundry, right? And buying your resupply on food, having a hot meal in a restaurant now and then. I'm going to be doing those things very, very rarely. I'm going to be going into town, getting my food, and going back out in the woods because I don't have the budget to stay in a hostel. I don't have the budget to stay in a hotel. I'm, going to be just doing it very, very. It's going to be an interesting pilgrimage because I don't have the budget for the party side of the trail. So I'm only going to be in hostels and hotels very, very rarely because I'm going to try to stretch what I've got out as much as possible. And that's why, I kind of would want some additional support because I'm really fond of showers. I would like to get one more than every other week. I really would.
I'm sure the other people on the trail would like for you to get one more
Yeah,
more often too.
but I'm going to smell. You hang around a bunch of people who live in the woods for 6 months and there's only so much you can do.
Oh my gosh. Well, so Kat, I can't wait to see your progress reports along the way, and best of luck to you on your hike.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, that's it for this week's episode.